The plasma bolt screamed past Captain Derrickall's head and vaporized the steel bulkhead behind him. He dove left, combat boots skidding across the alien throne room's polished floor as 3 more shots carved molten trenches where he'd been standing. Human. The Vrax Queen's voice boomed through the chamber. Her forearms spread wide in what might have been amusement or fury. Derek couldn't tell anymore. You think you can refuse the trial? He hadn't refused anything. He'd been hauling mining equipment on Europa when the Vrax dreadnought had torn through space, grabbed his ship, and dumped him here. Now he was on their capital world, surrounded by guards with weapons that could liquefy bone, and the Queen was laughing. "The accords are clear," she continued, her massive form rising from the throne. "You trespassed in protected space. The penalty is death unless you prove human worth." "I was in neutral territory," Derek shot back, checking his wrist scanner. Dead. Everything was dead. The Vrax had fried all his tech. Neutral territory that became ours 6 rotations ago. Your species is always behind on treaties. She gestured, and 3 figures were shoved forward from the shadows. Human women. All 3 looked terrified, bruised, uniforms torn. But I am merciful. Choose one. She lives. She becomes yours. You both go free. Derek's blood went cold. The women stared at him with desperate eyes. One was young, maybe 20. Another middle-aged, commander's insignia barely visible on her shredded collar. The third was older, defiant despite the energy restraints on her wrists. "Choose, human." "You have 10 seconds. His mind raced. His mother's... This was insane. How could he choose? How could he condemn 2 people to whatever the Vrax did to prisoners? 9, 8. The young woman was shaking. The commander stood straight, ready to accept her fate. The older woman mouthed something. "Not me." "Save them." 7, 6. Derek's fists clenched. Every nerve in his body screamed. This wasn't a choice. This was torture. 5-4. HFY. He looked at the Queen. Her eyes gleamed with satisfaction. She enjoyed this. This was entertainment for her. 3. And suddenly Derek understood. This wasn't about mercy. This wasn't about testing human worth. This was about breaking him, about proving humans were selfish, that they'd sacrifice others to survive. 2. He raised his hand, extended his finger. 1. Derek pointed directly at the Queen. The throne room went silent. Every guard froze. The Queen's expression shifted from amusement to something unreadable. "That one," Derek said, his voice steady. "She's the one I choose." There. The Queen's laughter exploded through the chamber like a sonic weapon. It wasn't amusement. It was rage wrapped in mockery, echoing off walls that had probably witnessed 1,000 executions. "You dare!" Her voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "You point at me?" Derek didn't lower his hand. His heart hammered against his ribs, but he kept his finger aimed straight at her face. "You said choose one of the women. You didn't specify which women. You're female? You're in the room." "I choose you." The guards raised their weapons. 50 energy rifles hummed to life, all pointed at his chest. Derek could feel the heat building in their charging coils from 15 feet away. But the Queen raised one of her 4 hands. The weapons lowered slightly. "Explain," she commanded. "The trial," Derek said, forcing his voice to stay level. "You said I had to prove human worth. Well, here it is. Humans don't play rigged games. We don't choose who dies when everyone should live. We find the third option. There is no third option." "There's always a third option." Derek took a step forward. One guard moved to intercept, but the Queen waved him back. "You set up a scenario designed to prove humans are selfish, that we'll sacrifice others to save ourselves. But I'm calling it what it is. A lie. Those 3 women aren't the choice. You are." The Queen's eyes narrowed. Her skin, a deep violet that seemed to shift in the light, darkened to near black. You understand that I could kill you where you stand. Yeah, I got that from the 50 guns pointed at me. Then why provoke death? Because dying on my feet beats living on my knees. Derek glanced at the three women. They were staring at him like he'd grown a second head. Maybe he had. Maybe the oxygen mix in here was wrong and he was hallucinating. But he'd committed now. And because I read the Accords before I left Europa, Article 7, Section 3, trial by declaration. If a human can make a claim that fundamentally challenges Vrax's understanding of worth, the trial ends. Everyone walks. Silence crashed down like a hammer. The Queen descended from her throne. Each step made the floor vibrate. She was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, her forearms corded with muscle that could snap him like kindling. She stopped 3 feet away, looming over him. You memorize the Accords. The boring parts everyone skips. Yeah, and you believe pointing at me constitutes a fundamental challenge? I believe demanding someone choose who lives and who dies isn't a test of worth. It's sadism dressed up as law. And if that's what Vrax civilization considers worthy, then maybe we need to redefine the term. The Queen stared at him. Her eyes were like molten gold, ancient and calculating. Derek could feel sweat running down his spine. His finger was still extended, still pointing at her, though his arm was starting to shake from the strain. "You have courage," she said finally. Foolish, suicidal courage, but courage nonetheless. Does that mean the trial is over? No. She smiled, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. It means the trial is just beginning. She turned to the guards. Release the 3 humans. Send them to medical. Full treatment, then return them to their ships with compensation for their distress. Derek's arm dropped. Wait, what? You invoked Article 7. The trial changes form. The Queen circled him slowly, predatory. But it does not end. Now we test whether your courage extends beyond words. What does that mean? It means you stay. Alone. With me. She gestured, and the 3 women were escorted out. They looked back at Derek, confusion and relief and terror mixing on their faces. Then they were gone. The throne room doors slammed shut with a sound like a coffin closing. Derek and the Queen stood in silence. Just the 2 of them and 50 armed guards who looked eager to turn him into vapor. "So," Derek said, trying to keep his voice from cracking. "What now?" The Queen's smile widened. "Now, human, you prove whether you truly believe what you said. Or whether it was just pretty words before the grave." She snapped her fingers. The guards lowered their weapons and filed out. Every single one. Within seconds, the vast throne room was empty except for Derek and the Queen. "You chose me," she said softly. "So let's see if you can handle what you picked." The Queen moved to a panel on the wall and pressed something. The lights dimmed. The throne room's atmosphere shifted from formal execution chamber to something else entirely. Something Derek couldn't quite name. "Your species fascinates me," she said, not looking at him. "Do you know why?" Derek stayed where he was, every muscle coiled. "Because we're stubborn? Because you're unpredictable." She turned. Every other species in the Accord follows patterns. The Kreth negotiate. The Solvans fight. The Dorax submit. But humans? You do all 3 at once, or none, or something we've never seen before. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. She approached him again, but slower this time. Less predator, more curious. 3 cycles ago, a human ship captain saved a Vrax colony from plasma storms. He had no obligation. No treaty required it. He just did it. Sounds like a decent guy. 2 cycles ago, a human mining crew murdered 16 Vrax workers over a territorial dispute. Derek's jaw tightened. There are good and bad in every species. Yes, but with humans, the gap between good and bad is a chasm. Your best are saints, your worst are demons. And most of you are both, depending on the moment. She stopped directly in front of him. So which are you, Derek Hall? He blinked. You know my name. I know everything about you, mining engineer. Orphaned at 12 when the Mars colonies flooded. Raised yourself. Worked 3 jobs to afford pilot certification. No criminal record. No family. No attachments. Her golden eyes bored into him. You're alone by choice, not circumstance. Didn't realize this was therapy. It's evaluation. She walked past him toward the throne. You chose me instead of the others. That was clever. Article 7 is real, though few humans know it exists. But cleverness isn't courage. I need to know which one drove your decision. Does it matter? It matters for what comes next. Derek turned to face her. What does come next? The queen settled onto her throne, all 4 arms resting on the armrests. The Vrax Empire is not what it was. We're dying, slowly. Our birth rates have dropped 70% in 5 generations. Our colonies are failing. In 200 years, we'll be extinct. That wasn't what Derek had expected. Why are you telling me this? Because the Accords aren't just laws, they're experiments. We test other species to see if they have something we lack, something that might save us. She leaned forward. Your choice today was unusual. Unprecedented, actually. In 8,000 trials, no one has ever pointed at me. Maybe because they valued their lives, or maybe because they lacked imagination. She stood again, descending from the throne. You saw a rule and found a loophole. That's human. But more than that, you refused to accept a false choice. You rejected the premise entirely. That's something else. Derek felt like he was missing something crucial. I still don't understand what you want. I want to make you an offer. The queen stopped 3 paces away. Stay here. Not as a prisoner, as an advisor. Help us understand your species. Help us learn why humans thrive while we fade. You're asking me to work for you? I'm asking you to save 2 species, yours and mine. Her voice softened, became almost vulnerable. The Vraxan humans are on a collision course. Your expansion and ours. Within 50 years, we'll go to war. It will be catastrophic. Billions will die on both sides. Derek's mind raced. This was insane. One minute he was choosing between prisoners. The next he was being offered a diplomatic position by an alien queen who just threatened to kill him. Why me? I'm nobody. A mining engineer who got grabbed by your ship. You're nobody, which makes you perfect. No political agenda. No corporate interests. Just a human who thinks differently. She extended one of her 4 hands. Help me understand your people. In exchange, I'll give you access to Vrax technology, resources, and knowledge. You'll have authority second only to mine. Derek stared at the offered hand. His brain screamed trap. Everything about this felt wrong. And if I refuse? You go free. Just like I promised. You and the 3 women. All released, all compensated. No tricks. But the war still comes. And when it does, both our species lose. The Queen's expression was unreadable. You pointed at me because you saw a game I was playing and refused to participate. So I'm pointing back. Here's a new game. A real one. Help me stop a war, or walk away and let millions die. Derek's mouth went dry. That's not fair. Fair? The Queen's laugh was bitter. Nothing about this is fair. Life isn't fair. Survival isn't fair. The choices are real, and this one is yours. The throne room felt too large and too small at the same time. Derek could feel the weight of the decision crushing down on him. I need time to think. You have 10 seconds. That's not enough time. It's exactly enough time, yes or no, Derek Hall. Save both our species or walk away clean. His hand started to rise. Derek's hand stopped halfway to hers. No. The Queen's eyes flickered with something between surprise and respect. Explain. You're doing it again. Another false choice. Stay and save everyone, or leave and condemn millions. It's the same game, just wrapped in prettier packaging. Derek lowered his hand. You don't need me to understand humans. You need me to legitimize whatever plan you already have. The Queen was silent for 3 heartbeats. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Genuine and loud. You're right. Partially right, anyway. She withdrew her hand. I do have a plan, but I genuinely need a human perspective to make it work. What plan? Integration. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Not conquest. Not submission. True integration. Vracs and human colonies sharing space, technology, culture. A unified council governing both species. Derek felt his stomach drop. That's impossible. Our governments would never agree. They would if they had no choice. The Queen moved to a holographic display that materialized from the floor. Star systems appeared, hundreds of them. The Kreth are expanding faster than either of us realized. Within 30 years, they'll control half the known galaxy. Alone, humans fall. Alone, Vracs fall. Together, we might survive. The hologram shifted. Battle simulations played out. Kreth fleets overwhelming human defenses. Vracs worlds burning. The projections were brutal and efficient. You're showing me this to scare me into helping. I'm showing you this because it's true. The Queen's voice was hard. My intelligence networks are better than yours. The Kreth are already moving. Small incursions. Testing defenses. Your Earth government thinks they're isolated incidents. They're not. They're probing attacks before the real invasion. Derek studied the hologram. The patterns did look coordinated. Even if I believe you, why would humans trust the Vax? You grabbed me off my ship. You threatened to kill 3 innocent people. That's not how you build alliances. It's how we test them. The Queen dismissed the hologram. Those 3 women were never in danger. The guards had stun settings active. If you'd chosen one of them, I would have released all 4 of you anyway. The test was to see if you'd make the easy choice or the hard one. That's still messed up. Yes, it is. She met his eyes. But it worked. You're here, you're listening. And despite everything, you're considering my offer. Derek wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. Because she was right. The strategic part of his brain, the part that had kept him alive through Mars floods and Europa mining accidents, was already calculating possibilities. If I help you, what exactly would I do? First, you'd meet with the Vracs High Council. Convince them that humans are worth partnering with, not conquering. That's the easy part. They already respect you for invoking Article 7. And the hard part. Convince your own people that we're not the enemy, that the real threat is coming and we need to stand together. The Queen's expression darkened. That will be nearly impossible. Humans are tribal, suspicious. Every attempt at Vracs human cooperation has ended in bloodshed because you keep testing us with death games. Because both sides keep viewing the other as inferior. She moved closer. I need someone who sees past that. Someone who can bridge the gap. You proved today that you can think outside imposed limitations. That's rare. That's valuable. Derek ran a hand through his hair. This was too much. 24 hours ago, his biggest concern was calibrating drilling equipment. Now he was being asked to prevent an interstellar war. What about the 3 women? Do they know about any of this? No. They think they were random prisoners who got lucky. It's better that way. Better for who? For them, for you, for everyone. The Queen's tone shifted, became almost gentle. If you accept, your life changes completely. You become a public figure. A target. Every faction that wants war will want you dead. Every conspiracy theorist will call you a traitor. You'll lose any chance at a normal life. And if I refuse, you go back to Europa, back to mining, back to being alone. She tilted her head. Is that what you want? Derek thought about his life, the empty quarters, the endless shifts, the careful distance he kept from everyone because getting close meant risking loss, and he'd lost enough. I don't know what I want. Then let me tell you what I see. The Queen's voice was low, intense. I see a human who's been running from connection his entire life. Who chooses solitude because it's safe? Who points at me instead of making a real choice because deflection is easier than commitment? The words hit like physical blows. You don't know me. I know your type. I was your type. After my mate died, I spent 80 years alone, refused every suitor, focused only on duty. Then I realized something. She moved within arm's reach. Being alone doesn't make you strong. It makes you brittle. One good hit, and you shatter. Derek's fists clenched. This isn't about my personal issues. Everything is about personal issues. Politics, war, peace. It's all just individuals making choices based on fear or courage. The Queen extended her hand again. So here's the real choice, Derek Hall. Not save the galaxy or walk away, but simple. Do you want to matter, or do you want to be safe? His hand trembled. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to get out of here and never look back. But he thought about those three women, the terror in their eyes, the relief when they were released. He thought about billions of people who might face that same terror if war came. He reached out and grasped her hand. I want to matter. The Queen's hand was cold and impossibly strong. She gripped his firmly, then released him and stepped back. Good. Now comes the part where you learn why this matters more than you think. She moved to the wall and pressed another panel. A hidden door slid open, revealing a corridor that glowed with bioluminescent veins running through the walls.
Follow me. Derek hesitated only a moment before moving.
They walked in silence through the corridor, passing Vrak's guards, who snapped to attention as the Queen passed. None of them looked at Derek, but he could feel their awareness like pressure against his skin. Where are we going? To show you what's really at stake. The Queen's voice echoed off the narrow walls. You agreed to help, but you don't truly understand the scope yet. Words and holograms aren't enough. You need to see. They emerged into a vast chamber that took Derek's breath away. It was a medical facility, but unlike anything human technology had achieved. Hundreds of pods lined the walls, each containing a Vrak's child suspended in translucent gel. Monitoring equipment surrounded each pod, displaying vital signs in alien script. Our nursery, the Queen said quietly. Every Vrak's child born in the last 5 years is here, all 312 of them. Derek approached the nearest pod. The child inside couldn't have been more than a few months old, tiny and fragile. 300? For your entire species? For our entire empire? 40 billion Vraks across 200 worlds, and we have 300 children. The Queen's voice was hollow. 20 years ago, we had 30,000. 50 years ago, 500,000. The decline is accelerating. What's causing it? We don't know. Our best scientists have been studying it for decades. Genetic degradation, environmental factors. Some theorize it's spiritual, that we've lost our purpose as a species. She moved between the pods, trailing one hand along their surfaces. But the cause doesn't matter anymore, only the cure. Derek felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. And you think humans have the answer. Humans have something we lost, adaptability. Your species thrives in conditions that would kill ours. You reproduce successfully in hostile environments. You recover from near-extinction events. The Queen stopped at a pod containing a particularly small infant. We need to understand that resilience, not to steal it, but to learn from it. That's why you test humans, the trials. Yes, but also no. She turned to face him. The trials serve multiple purposes. They identify exceptional individuals. They gather behavioral data. But mostly, they're political theater. The High Council needs to believe they're in control, that they're studying humans from a position of strength, while you're actually desperate, while we're dying. The Queen's composure cracked slightly. I have ruled for 200 years. I have seen our empire shrink. Our colonies fail. Our people lose hope. If I don't find a solution soon, there won't be a Rack civilization to save. Derek looked at the pods, at the tiny lives suspended in preservation. What happens if integration doesn't work? If humans and Racks can't coexist, then we try conquest. We'll full military subjugation of human space. Force the knowledge we need out of your scientists. Her voice was flat, matter-of-fact. It would be bloody. Expensive, likely to fail given human resistance. But it would be our last option. You'd start a war you can't win. I'd start a war rather than watch my species fade into nothing. The Queen's eyes met his. That's what you need to understand, Derek. I'm not offering partnership out of kindness. I'm offering it because it's the only path that doesn't end in mutual destruction. But if you fail, if humans refuse to cooperate, then I will do what I must. The weight of it settled on Derek like a physical thing. This wasn't just politics. This was survival at its most primal. A species facing extinction, willing to do anything to continue. How long do we have before the Kreth? 30 years, maybe less. Before the Vrack's birth rate drops to 0, she glanced at the pods. Optimistically. 50 years, realistically. 20. And you think I can fix this in time? I think you're the first human who's shown me that your species can think beyond self-interest. The Queen's voice softened. Every other human I've tested has chosen to save themselves or their preferred candidate. You chose to question the system. That's what we need. Not someone who plays by our rules, but someone who breaks them intelligently. A thought occurred to Derek. The 3 women, where did you find them? They were prisoners, real ones. Captured during border skirmishes. The Queen moved toward the exit. I offered them the same choice I'm offering you. Help us understand humanity, or be released with compensation. They chose release. So, I wasn't your first option. You weren't even my 10th, but you're the first who passed the real test. She paused at the door. Come, there's more you need to see. They walked through more corridors, descended via gravity lift, and entered a war room. Holographic displays showed real-time data from across the galaxy. Vrack's military positions, human fleet movements, and something else. Red markers advancing slowly but steadily through contested space. The Kreth Vanguard, the Queen explained. They're 6 months ahead of schedule. We thought we had more time. Derek studied the display. The Kreth forces were massive, organized and moving with clear purpose. Have you told human governments about this? We've tried. They think it's a trick. Of Rack's manipulation to justify military buildup near human space. The Queen's frustration was evident. That's why I need you, someone they might actually believe. I'm nobody. Why would they listen to me? Because you're not politically connected. You have no reason to lie. And because I'm going to give you proof they can't ignore. She gestured, and a data chip materialized in her hand, suspended by some technology Derek couldn't identify. Kreth communication intercepts. Battle plans. Timetables. Everything our intelligence has gathered, Derek reached for it, then stopped. If I take this and share it with human authorities, they'll want to know how I got it. They'll know I'm working with you. Yes, I'll be branded a collaborator. A traitor to my species. Almost certainly. And if they don't believe me, I've destroyed my credibility for nothing. The Queen smiled grimly. Now you understand the real choice. This isn't about comfort or safety anymore. This is about believing the threat is real enough to sacrifice everything to stop it. Derek stared at the data chip floating between them. Derek took the data chip, The moment his fingers closed around it, he felt the weight of what he'd just committed to. There was no going back now. "What happens next?" he asked. "Next, you leave, publicly. Make a show of refusing my offer. Demand your freedom." The Queen moved to a communication console. "In 3 days, you'll receive a message at your quarters on Europa. Coordinates for a neutral meeting point. Human diplomats will be there, ones I've identified as open-minded enough to listen. And if they arrest me instead, then you use the data chip to prove your story. The encryption is human-compatible. Any decent analyst will verify its authentic Kreth intel." She paused. "Though by then your life as Derek Hall, mining engineer, will be over." "It's already over." Derek pocketed the chip. "The moment I pointed at you—" The Queen's expression shifted to something that might have been respect. "Perhaps you're wiser than I gave you credit for." They returned to the throne room through a different route. The guards were back in position, weapons ready. The Queen raised her voice, making it carry through the chamber. "You have refused my generous offer, human. Very well. You are hereby released under the terms of Article 7. She gestured dismissively. "Take your ship and go. If I see you in rack space again, there will be no trial. No mercy." Derek played along, keeping his voice hard. "Keep your deals and your games. Humanity doesn't need the Vraks. Then humanity will face the darkness alone." The Queen turned her back on him. "Guards, escort him out." 2 Vrak soldiers gripped his arms, not gently. They hauled him through corridors and loading bays until they reached a docking platform, where his mining ship sat, looking impossibly small against the massive Vrak's architecture. One guard shoved him forward. "Go, before she changes her mind." Derek climbed into his ship, sealed the hatch, and fired up the engines. His hands moved through the launch sequence automatically while his mind raced. The data chip felt like it was burning through his pocket. The ship lifted off and accelerated away from the Vrak's capital world. Derek set course for Europa, but his thoughts were already 3 steps ahead. The meeting, the proof he carried that would either save billions or mark him as the greatest traitor in human history. His comm system beeped. Incoming message, encrypted. He opened it. The Queen's face appeared on his screen. "You played your part well. Remember, 3 days. Don't be late. And if this doesn't work, if humans and Vraks can't find common ground, then we all burn together when the Kreth arrive." Her image flickered. "But I don't believe that will happen. You know why?" "Why?" "Because you chose me. When given an impossible choice, you found a way to reject it entirely and create something new. That's what both our species need now. Not someone who chooses sides, but someone who refuses to accept that sides are all there is." The transmission ended. Derek sat alone in his cockpit, stars streaming past, carrying proof of an invasion that no one would want to believe and a partnership that everyone would want to reject. He thought about the Vrak's children and their preservation pods, the human colonies that would burn if war came, the Kreth forces advancing through the dark. He'd been alone for so long, safe in his solitude, untouchable in his isolation. But the Queen had been right. Being alone didn't make him strong. It made him brittle, and the galaxy needed something stronger than brittle. It needed someone willing to stand between dying empires and approaching apocalypse and say, "This ends differently." Derek pulled out the data chip and plugged it into his ship's computer. The files unlocked, showing him everything. Battle plans, invasion timetables, proof that would change everything. In 3 days, he would arrive at those coordinates. He would meet the diplomats. He would show them the truth, and then humanity would face its own impossible choice. Trust the Vraks and fight together, or stand alone and fall separately. Derek smiled grimly as Europa appeared in the distance, his temporary home before everything changed. He pointed at the Queen and changed the game. Now he had to change the galaxy.